Kunle Oladejo, Secretary General of Marxist League for Workers' Internationalism. I'm speaking on the turning point in the political situation in Nigeria. The turning point in the current situation and impending Nigerian political volcanoes and the class struggle to end civilian dictatorship and budding fascism. I'm speaking on the crisis of Nigeria's neo-colonial capitalist economy and the split in the ruling class and what is to be done. This is geared towards the alternative economic system as the Omoyele Sowore revolutionary presidential campaign begins with Showorenomic mass democratic movement. Which are geared towards mobilizing the unemployed, the underemployed, workers' movement, national unemployed, youth and trade union rights, campaign, Green Movement Action Plan, and Consumer Rights Campaign. This is in defense of fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy, Chapter 2 of 1999 Constitution, Showoreism, socialism, revolution in permanence, grassroots democracy, and Marxism-Leninism. The focus is on what the grassroots masses expect from Omoyele Sowore, Show, and the running mate. Another Nigeria is possible. On the crisis of Nigeria's neo-colonial capitalist economy and the split in the ruling class, what is to be done towards the revolution in permanence, the permanent system change? There is no solution in Atiku's policy document launched recently. No solution in General Buhari's economic recovery and growth plan, ERGP, which we interpret as next level of deepening crisis, poverty, joblessness, corruption, climate change, austerity, ethno-religious conflicts or bigotry, impunity, repression, and the crisis generated by the national question. No solution in the social democratic reform in the manifesto of APC or its halfway measure or developmental state paradigm. The revolution has begun, according to Comrade Omoyele Sowore, as he flagged off his revolutionary campaign, akin to a mass democratic movement, for which these structures of struggle, both practical struggle or theoretical struggle, are our ideological war, which will lead to making the vast change to a new social order possible. The common sense in the revolution or system change Comrade Sowore is campaigning for. The structures important in drawing out 16-point discussion document or proposals in the Showorenomic Working People's Charter of Transitional, Programmatic, and Immediate Demands with the grassroots masses, especially the unemployed, students or youths, trade union and labor movement at workplaces or shop floor, factories, on the streets, as popular self-defense committees for mandate protection, popular militia, which should be formalized when we get to power, as Section 220 on compulsory military training for able-bodied persons from 18 years and above will be enforced as one of the steps towards counter-terrorism. Peasant committees in the rural areas for the agrarian revolution to be organized in all states by organized labor, NSC, TUC, and USC, and the informal sector federation, FIWA, Federation of Informal Workers of Nigeria. As cooperative communes, popular neighborhood action committees on each street or community on issues of national focus, popular committees on prices, rents, and tariffs, joint action committees of trade unions to discuss the working people's charter of transitional, programmatic, and immediate demands, and the 16-point proposals with a view to forwarding their demands to the AAC Presidential Campaign Council and or AAC Government Grassroots Assembly in each ward, LGA, state constituency, federal constituency, and People's Parliament in each state and in each senatorial district. The justification. According to Comrade Balarabe Musa in 1981 at the University of Ibadan, we are living today in times of great changes. The old orders are crumbling fast and new ways of life and activities are emerging. Our task is to understand these changes and utilize them for human progress. 100 years before Balarabe Musa, Karl Marx said, and I quote, "Philosophers have interpreted the world this way or that way. What matters is to change it, and we are determined to change it." The economic programs of Atiku and Buhari are anchored on SAP imposed on Nigerians by General Babangida 32 years ago. And in 2016, 30 years after SAP, Professor Dong Pamshai of University of Jos delivered a lecture entitled 3 Decades of Structural Adjustment Program in Nigeria and its implication for trade union structure, organizing, and resistance to neoliberalism, which is the philosophical basis of their campaign documents. ERGP of General Buhari and policy document of Atiku. The basis of the philosophical basis of their campaign document is capitalism, neo-colonial capitalism or neoliberalism. And in this part 1, I'm going to expose the flaws in their documents. But as I'm adopting the historical perspective of materialist consumption of history and the economic history of Nigeria, I will first and foremost say that the death knell of capitalism has been sounded, and it has shown that capitalism collapsed between 2007 and 2009, and it's in intensive care globally or all over the world with weak recovery. It is in coma. It has been in coma since 2009 with what is called long depression, which is worse than a recession. In Nigeria here, we have been under long depression for more than 30 years. Depression is worse than recession. What happened in 2016 was just deepening the long depression we have been having since SAP was imposed by General Babangida in 1986. It is commonplace that crises in Nigeria's neo-colonial capitalist market system have been increasing since General Babangida imposed IMF or World Bank or World Trade Organization, which used to be General Agreement of Trade and Tariff by the time Babangida toppled General Buhari and Idiagbon. They inspired SAP. There have been crises in all sectors of Nigerian economy. Reforms or counter-reforms in 1985 have not solved the crisis. The Marxist League for Workers' Internationalism is examining the Nigeria's new colonial market economy and the implications for present political situation amidst the vagaries and crisis of world capitalism. 58 years after independence, with a population of more than 216 million by the end of 2018. I got this figure using compound interest formula. When General Babangida conducted population census in 1992, it was said to be 100 million. So using compound interest formula, and at the end of 2016, we were 203 million. That is, the 180 million that they are brandishing about is just a gross underestimation by 23 million. Now, it would have risen to 216 million Nigerians by the end of 2018. Now, we have challenges. Are we going to repudiate or ask for a moratorium on our debts, or we continue to service our debt? 40% at a stage between 1986 and 2006 was earmarked for debt servicing. And our debt was 30 billion. Now it is $75 billion. At the rate of $2 billion between 1986 and 2006, servicing debts is more than 40 billion naira, dollars. Sorry. And they've been jumping from one phase of capitalism to the other, from monetarism to Keynesianism, deficit financing. Now, there is this talk about full federalism, restructuring as a way of resolving the national question. And in the minimum wage struggle, states are asking for full federalism or a new revenue allocation formula, which is more than 25 years old by last year. Now, this cannot be guaranteed under the private sector-led development or market forces, or market economics. And since both documents believe in private sector-led development or market economics, they cannot solve the problems. Yeah. With devaluation, inflation happens, and it affects total salary package. There have been devaluation has been more than 28,000% since 1986. And minimum wage or basic salary was 125 naira in 1981, when 50 kobo was buying $1. When Comrade Azan Sumanu, the veteran labor leader, led NSC SESCAN, which is now TUC, to fight for that minimum wage. That 50 kobo to $1 made the 125 naira to be $250, which is, by calculation, more than 90,000 naira now at the current stage. NSC, TUC, and USC F1 have been moderate in demanding less than that, about 65,000, which as negotiation went on, a compromise of 30,000 was reached, which this government is trying to fool labor, deceiving labor on. Now, price rises since 1986 and now have been more than 2,800%. And this government believes in cutting public expenditure. Wage cut, wage freeze, and retrenchment. And it was General Babangida regime, contrary to 1979 Constitution, contrary to 1999 Constitution, under General Obasanjo between 1999 and 2007. There was disparity created between the federal public servants and state and local government public servants, which is contrary to our constitution, as item 34 puts the issue of labor and making laws on minimum wage or other labor matters the exclusive preserve of the National Assembly. Now, with deregulation and non-intervention by the government to tame the market forces of demand and supply, inflation rates have been going up. Cost of living has been increasing, and cut in consumption means that industries will not be able to sell. And this leads to what the Nobel Prize winner on economics and Professor Paul Samuelson, special advisor to President Kennedy on economics. This is what he calls stagflation, stagnancy in economic growth and inflation. Hence, capacity utilization will be stagnant or even decrease. This will worsen if the prices of petroleum in the world market fluctuate and swings downwards again. Now about joblessness and unemployment in Nigeria. I'm the Executive Secretary of National Unemployed Laborers League. More than 60 million Nigerians, or to be precise, between 60 to 70 million Nigerians are unemployed. More than 10 million are graduates. If we go by ILO 10 years ago, the figure of 37 million was given. The National Assembly at a retreat gave a figure of 50 million more than 10 years ago. So if we extrapolate, that figure would have risen to more than million. Under the present system of SAP, between 3,000 to 4,000 jobs need to be created every day for the next 10 to 20 years to overcome unemployment. Under the present system of SAP, encapsulated in Article Policy Document and General Buhari's Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, the majority of young Nigerians, youths, will never know what it is to have a stable job. Their economic policies are really poverty elevation program rather than poverty eradication program, which both Atiku and Buhari have been hypocritically putting forward. In the part 2, I will discuss the nitty-gritty of the critique of the philosophical basis, neoliberalism or capitalism or developmental state paradigm, which economists call Keynesianism. I'll be able to discuss the underlying reasons for the long depression. I'll be able to discuss the laws developed by Karl Marx, law of cyclical economic crisis, to explain why crises continue to happen. In the days of Karl Marx, it was 10 years. In the days of Karl Marx, it was 10 years. Cycle. But now it is more rapid. It is between 5, 6, 7, 8, never up to 10 years again. There is also another law of profitability, developed by Karl Marx, the second law, which explains more the long depression since 2009 globally. And that is the law of the tendency for the rate of profit to fall. When profit fall, investors will not invest. They speculate on foreign exchange. They do illicit transfer, speculate on stock exchange. They no longer invest. Investors will come to Nigeria. They will not come. They will tell you to sell your companies to them so that they will control your economy. So, in part 2, we will discuss more on this. Thank you.